Here we go. How's it going?
Not bad. How are you, Leslie?
It's good. It's good. It's a nice weekend, so the weather was nice, and everybody seemed to be in a better spirit, in a better mood this weekend. So
Yeah, it's warming up. Looks like we might get some rain the next day or two.
well, the grass. We always say the grass needs it, right? The grass needs it.
Yeah.
I don't need it. I want sunshine. So anyway, so actually, Sean, I've been watching a show. I think I told you in email. I've been watching a show called Startup.
Mm-hmm.
It's only because of our cryptocurrency chat like this that I've been watching. It's kind of interesting. So you've been helping shed light on all things cryptocurrency for me, and anybody who's watching. Sean has helped me now move. Which I had everything, not everything. I've got $200 or $300, right? So Sean, you helped me last week move. I'm just going to look at my app here. You've moved my stuff from Coinbase, and we moved to BitBuy. So
Yes.
BitBuy is the new app, and then you've got me moving the BitBuy stuff to BlockFi. So tell me why we did that last week.
Okay, so if you're not in the United States, you can't go and buy Bitcoin from BlockFi. You have to buy it somewhere else. So
Okay.
what you need to start off with is BitBuy. You want to register on there. In Canada, you have to. They have their customer laws. So you need to provide proof of who you are, your driver's license and all that. And you go on BitBuy and you essentially do an e-transfer to them. And then you purchase Bitcoin on their site. But you don't want to leave it on there. So you want to move it somewhere where it's going to be secure and where you can make some interest off your money. That would be BlockFi. Yeah. So we moved the money over to BlockFi. And once it's on there, it's secure. And they take custody of your Bitcoin. And they pay you 5% on your Bitcoin holdings, and that's compounded.
Right. So when we move, so here's a question, and you know, sometimes I'll send you those questions ahead of time, and this is going to come out of left field. So why typically people will say keep everything in Canada because of the U.S. privacy laws, blah 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 blah. So is there a reason why we're using an American app or American money, or is it just more money, or why?
Well, there's no website really comparable that Canada is doing right now. If there was, I'd probably be using it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Simple enough.
Yeah. So
you've done your. I know that you've done your research.
Yeah. There's other websites out there. I also use Nexos. That's based in Europe. So similar thing. You know, I make 7% of my Bitcoin over at Nexos. So you can only. On BlockFi, you make 5% up to half a Bitcoin. So after half a Bitcoin, you kind of have to move to another service. So I'll split my Bitcoin between multiple sites to make the most amount of interest.
How much is a half a Bitcoin now, like in dollar wise?
Half a Bitcoin is almost 20,000 US.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you said it's like okay. I still haven't got this processed in my head. Okay, so we have a question. Will you be able to send the recording? Yes, we'll be able to send the recording afterwards for sure. And we're going to try and give people we meant to do like a little tip sheet, didn't we, Sean? But like of some of the links and things like that, because this is all brand new to me. Like it's really foreign, brand new to me. And, you know, this is why we wanted to have these chats, is because as you're walking me through it, I'm like, other people are going to be curious and interested to go through this process as well. So, yeah. So, okay. So, yeah. So that was actually, that was my first question, wasn't it? It was already like you set me up with the BitBuy, and we transferred the BlockFi. And so, okay, so I think I still sort of have this question. I think I know the answer to this question. You've explained it to me. You're going to explain it again. So we've heard about Bitcoin, which you have, and I have learned that it's a much more solid investment. But then there's Ethereum, which has got a lot about that, and then there's other coins. So why one coin over another, and where do people go from there?
Okay, so I'm an active day trader, and when I day trade, I'll invest in altcoins. And the reason I invest in altcoins is not just because I love the coin, but it's to acquire more Bitcoin. So in the end, the goal is to have more Bitcoin. So.
Okay. One of the reasons I think you mentioned Bitcoin was so important is because there's only a finite amount.
Yes.
Like these other ones, there's an infinite amount. And so it's, it's just as I mean, it's all, to me, it's all ethereal anyway. It's all like in like, it's not tangible anyway. But Bitcoin, at least with having a finite amount, then, there's at least a little bit more tangibility to it, if that makes sense.
There's a lot of coins that have a finite amount. Some of the coins, they do what's called burning their coins. So they essentially send it to an address that nobody can access, and the coin's kind of gone forever. They do that. They're doing that with Ethereum coming up real soon.
Really?
So when you're doing your portfolio, you really want 70% of your portfolio to be in Bitcoin. That's that's what we're looking for. That's the money. We recommend that you put about 20% of your portfolio in Ethereum, just to hedge. And if you want to gamble on the altcoins, 10% of your portfolio to gamble on the altcoins. We don't recommend going too crazy on the altcoins. Stick to the higher cap coins like ADA or Cardano, Chainlink, stuff like that. The coins that are doing really well.
Yeah. So is it because Bitcoin is sort of the most common, the one that people know, and it's much more likely going to be adopted? And I think I even saw, was it yesterday or today? Like, was it like some South American country is actually accepting Bitcoin too? So like, it's the ones that are going to be more likely to be used are the ones that we want to really be focusing upon. Is that right?
Yeah, El Salvador just adopted it. So
accept it.
Well, no, they plan to make cryptocurrency a legal tender in their country. So they're very reliant right now on the US dollar. So they would not have to be reliant. Say that again. Sorry, you broke up.
Sorry, my internet might be.
Yeah.
I might be breaking up. Yeah. So say that.
So El Salvador did. The president came on the conference. We just recently had a large Bitcoin conference in Miami. The president came on and said that he plans to introduce a bill that will make cryptocurrency, make Bitcoin a legal tender in their country. There's a lot of people in their country that don't have bank accounts. They don't have access to store their money and to do these transactions safely.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, which is kind of unfathomable, right? Like almost every Canadian I know puts money in the bank. So to think, and I think that's what I'm learning from this other show, which is it's a fictional show, but it's that there's people around the world that don't have access to bank accounts, which is just kind of wild to think. And so
it's surprisingly common that people won't have access to a bank account, but they have a cell phone. And that's all you really need. That's all you really need.
Right. And so this is what I'm understanding, and just correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm just putting there that whole idea of the blockchain and Bitcoin, what this cryptocurrency is doing is kind of like what Napster and what Pirate Bay were in the in the early 2000s. I mean, it's a different thing because it's not peer-to-peer per se, but it's kind of like
Bitcoin is
that's where my brain is at.
Sorry, Bitcoin is technically a peer-to-peer network. So it's transferring money from one entity to another, and you have no bank involved. You have no central authority involved. So it is kind of similar to their technologies. I'm sure Satoshi looked at that technology when he was creating Bitcoin. It is a peer-to-peer technology, and Napster and Pirate Bay, when they first came out, they were very gray, and then they quickly became illegal, but they did pave the way for digital downloads.
Right. So if Napster changed the way that we download music, or Pirate Bay changed the way that we, when we were connecting with movies and things like that from a peer-to-peer network, is that what this Bitcoin might be doing to the financial markets?
I guarantee it. Bitcoin will change the financial market. It'll change the way we deal with money. It'll let you take control of your own finances. The technology is going to keep growing. It's not going anywhere. It's just how long until people adopt it. This El Salvador news really it fascinated me because it's the first time you really see a country adopting it and taking it and using it. So I'm hoping more will follow quickly.
Right. And is it Bitcoin because it's the most trusted? Is that why?
Well, you have to understand that Bitcoin's the original. Bitcoin is where it all started. Bitcoin. So we look at, I'm trying to think of a way to say this, but we look at the market, the percentage that Bitcoin has in the market. And, during the bear market, it has 60% of the market. So 60% of the money in the market is in Bitcoin. During the bull market, that's usually 40 or 50%. So it has the biggest following, and it has the most capital. So.
Okay, so it may not be a weird question, because it's like this Satoshi guy is this fictional, nobody knows who he is, or she, or whomever it is. It's just this. So how, like, this started with this person who is now for all intents and purposes, is anonymous. Nobody knows who they are. So isn't that kind of weird?
So we don't know if Satoshi is a person or a group of people.
Right.
When you have this much cloud going around with creating Bitcoin, there's a lot of conspiracy theories. There's a lot of people who believe crazy things, like someone from the future sent the code back, or maybe it's from aliens or something. It's kind of interesting to read, and it gets people thinking.
Yeah.
It was created in secrecy, and there was a reason it was created in secrecy, because the government does not want anything to challenge their dollar. So when Satoshi released Bitcoin, it was really in his best interest to stay anonymous.
Right. Yeah. I'm getting that from this show too, because this silly little show, it's like it's a cute show, actually. Well, it's not a cute show. It's like an intense show, but like there's a drug dealer, a coder, and a business guy, and the government's now trying to get involved in it, and it's just all these players. And so now the government, because they're being so successful with this, it's kind of like a Bitcoin, and it's kind of like a Tor net and this stuff. Anyway, the government's trying to get in there to figure out, okay, so how do we keep the criminals out of there, or how do we get our piece of the pie and all? Anyway, so that's a whole other.
I'm thinking the government at this point is trying to figure out how to make money off this, how to tax it, how to adopt it.
Yeah.
I think the cat's out of the bag with Bitcoin. There's no way to take it back. This is a network that no government can control. So once it's gone viral, once everyone adopts it, there's no stopping it. So I think they realize that. I think the time to have stopped this was, a couple of years after it got released. But at this point in time, I think it's too big.
And didn't they try to, though? I think I remember seeing a documentary on this a few years ago, when I first sort of, like, my spidey senses were tingling about this, like Bitcoin, stuff, that the New York state was trying to implement some kind of guidelines and that kind of stuff, weren't they? Especially with the Silk Road, and so they caught that guy. That's a whole. I don't know if that's a whole other rabbit hole.
Silk Road was a really big thing back then. Everyone was looking at Bitcoin as a technology, and the naysayers really always wanted to point to Silk Road. Look what they're doing there. Look at all that illegal activity. But Silk Road got shut down, and they used those Bitcoin addresses to track it right back to everyone who was doing illegal, nefarious activity. So. I believe in the end, for tracking money, this Bitcoin could be a good thing for the government.
Yeah, because they can track it. Well, this is why I've even heard where, the government really wants to move away from cash, because people can hide cash, but they can't hide from a digital.
Most of the nefarious stuff done, drug deals, prostitution, it's always done in the US dollar. It's only like 0.0001% done in Bitcoin,
Right. Yeah. Okay. So I'm still getting my head wrapped around all this other stuff too. So what else do you have any, like, because I didn't write that many questions down, Sean. If anybody else has any questions, please feel free to sort of jump in. But we're just sort of getting my head wrapped around, like, this whole idea. And we wanted to talk about this new one that you showed me, which is called Pi Network. So tell me, why did you say, Leslie, get on Pi Network?
So Pi is it's a coin that was released fairly recently. I don't think it's more than a year or two old. It runs on its own blockchain. It's kind of a proof of concept right now. So the deal with Pi coin is you can actually mine it on your phone. So they haven't officially really released the coin. The only way to get the coin is to mine it on your cell phone. So when you mine on your cell phone, the first thing that comes to mind is it's going to suck your battery power, and it's going to drain your, it doesn't do that. Mining on your phone with Pi, you essentially just have to log in once a day and you push a button. And the more people you invite, The more hash power you get, the more computing power you get, the more coin you earn. This is a very interesting coin. It's a very interesting way of mining. I think it's beneficial that it may help early adopters, like people get into the market and kind of understand the mining technology.
Because that's one of the biggest concerns that I've heard from some of my friends is, oh, mining takes up so much energy, and and so obviously with just doing your phone, it's not going to it's only going to be like little microscopic bits, as opposed to the mining thing that you're doing. Like you're doing bigger powered stuff with the whole whole room sort of designated to all that to mine. And I don't even understand the whole purpose of mining. And so let me just ask about that then is, and we'll come back to the Pi thing because my brain has already moved on to, is the mining thing. Is it, so it, like mining, is it basically just a checks and balances that your computer is basically saying, like the technology is sort of saying like, Leslie wants to send money to Sean, and then the computers are sort of saying, yes, we can do that. Is that what mining does?
That's a very consolidated view, but when we're trying to transfer money from one entity to another, we need a third party to validate it. And who's going to be that third party? Usually that would be your bank. You would trust your bank to validate the transaction. With mining, it really it randomizes who can validate that transaction. So it's completely, one day it's this miner, the next day it's this miner. It's a very simplified view, but yes, it's a way of confirming the transaction and who gets to add that transaction to the blockchain, because the blockchain has been tracked from the day it was conceived. So you add a block into the blockchain, the miner gets rewarded with newly minted Bitcoins, and they get rewarded with the transaction fees. So it incentivizes people to come on and mine. So you're mining to solve this algorithm, and the first one to solve it gets to add the block.
Yeah. And so they get a little, instead of getting paid cash, they get paid like the currency of sorts.
And that's similar to the way Pi is working, but Pi is working more on a trust basis. So their technology is not using so much computer power, but it's I have an account and I send you the link, and they validate who I am, they validate who you are, and then they can choose who gets to add the blocks at random, right?
Okay, so because it's going to smartphone to smartphone as opposed to computer, and what it says on there, and you've said it doesn't suck my battery out, it doesn't it's not really actually doing any of those kinds of things. So why do we need these big farms, or is this just a new thing that this person is doing, and so this may be the way of the future that will be, you won't need these big mining farms?
Yeah, so the future when Bitcoin first came out, it was what was called proof of stake mining. So it was essentially you solve this algorithm, and once you solve it, you get to add to the blockchain. Back then, the algorithm was fairly easy to solve. It didn't use a lot of electricity, but as more people start mining, the algorithm gets harder and harder. The more people who mine, the harder the algorithm gets. So the future for mining, like Ethereum is moving to what's called proof of stake. So rather than mining, you will get to add to the blockchain depending on how much coin you hold. So you take your coin and you lock it up in a wallet, and that is essentially you mining. And Pi is doing it a little bit differently, and it's a very interesting coin. So I've been reading a little bit about it and been trying to school myself on it, but it's got 18 million users so far. So it's one of the biggest communities in the cryptocurrency space right now. I recommend that everybody just download the app, and they can all they have to do is open the app once a day and hit a button. That's all they really have to do. And the app will acquire coins. And the more people you invite, the faster you're going to acquire coins. Now, right now, the coin is not listed on any exchange. So it's purely speculation. So eventually they will have the amount. So if you're making, 2 coins a day right now, eventually you'll only be making 1 coin a day. They're going to release their mainnet. So miners, people will be able to do the mining on their computer a little bit. They'll release their wallets, and they'll release it to an exchange. Once they release it to an exchange, we'll kind of start seeing what the true value of this coin is, because it'll be up to the people purchasing it to kind of decide what the value is.
Yeah, because right now, I mean, I think we had this conversation too before, which is like, you know, certain things, it's just such a weird time insofar as what is the value of something that is intangible. And I didn't take economics in school, but I remember hearing about this tulip, right? So that back years ago, I can't even remember what year ago it was, but it was like the tulips then became a currency that,
Mhm.
and so it could be anything. It could be a peanut butter sandwich, for crying out loud. You know what I mean? Like it's whatever is, like, it's the supply and the demand, right?
Exactly.
And so that's kind of where cryptocurrency is a little bit too. It's because not everybody believes in it, but Sean, you've tuned me into, I mean, there's something about it. I know that there's something about this, and then I've been listening on Clubhouse, and there's other people, and I still haven't really, I trust you because you know a lot about computers. You've had over 20 years of experience understanding everything there is to do with computers. And people like yourself really believe in this, which is why I just believe there's something here. It's not easy. It's not easy to comprehend. It's not easy to get my head around, but neither was the internet
No.
into, like, when I joined up in 96, and neither was like social media and how this was going to work. And so, or even fax machines, for crying out loud. Like when somebody was like, oh, well, you just push all these buttons and it goes through and it comes out as a picture on the other end. Like, it's just, sometimes it's a little hard to get our heads wrapped around. Like,
can
how
you
does it
imagine?
work?
Can you imagine going back to 1989 and trying to explain to somebody in 1989 what Facebook is?
Yeah.
It takes a while for people to get their head around. The more people listen to these types of podcasts, the more they're going to understand. The main thing is you have to do your own research. You shouldn't invest any more than you can afford to lose.
Right.
And the safest bet is usually to stick with Bitcoin, especially when you're learning. I see a lot of new investors jumping into the market and they haven't bought any Bitcoin. They just buy all the coins that they think are going to move. And when the bear market comes around, the altcoins tend to do a lot worse than Bitcoin. So I'll try to explain this to you. Let's say you're sitting on one Bitcoin, right? You're rich.
Right.
Sitting
Which
on
is
one
like today's $40,000, one Bitcoin. Isn't that what you said?
40,000 USD. Yes. Yeah.
US dollars. Yeah.
So let's say you're sitting on one Bitcoin and you say, I want to trade this Bitcoin, and you go in the market and you invest in Cardano and you invest in Chainlink and you invest in all these great altcoins that you think are going to,
whatever. Yeah.
Dogecoin especially. And let's say Bitcoin starts to drop. Now, what happens, Bitcoin kind of leads the pace for the altcoins. So when Bitcoin drops, the alts follow. And a lot of the times the alts will drop further than Bitcoin. So let's say you bought, Cardano at $1.70, and then Bitcoin drops and Cardano drops down to $1.20. Now you're sitting in Cardano and you're like, well, I can't sell my Cardano because, I paid $1.70 for it. It's only worth $1.20. But then all of a sudden Bitcoin starts moving up and Cardano and these altcoins are not following Bitcoin as fast. And then you realize, well, I had one Bitcoin, but if I cash out right now, I only have half a Bitcoin. So that's why it pays just to kind of to hedge your bets and sit in Bitcoin until you understand. And when you're doing trading, you have to do stop losses and you have to understand shorting. There's a lot to understand, and it's not something you should jump into until you fully understand.
Yeah, because I think I had told you, I was told by someone years ago, okay, well, just put stuff into Ethereum. And it was like 3 years ago. Get on Coinbase, put your stuff in Ethereum. And I was like, okay, I'm just taking someone else's advice. And I did. And now I'm learning more about that Ethereum is good, but you're saying it's much more volatile. It's almost like it's sort of like Bitcoin. It's almost like the, like Facebook to, like, I don't know, and like Twitter or something like that. Like they're not exactly on par with each other. They do different things, and Bitcoin is just a little bit more secure. Ethereum can go up, but it can also come down pretty big too.
Yeah, so Bitcoin's more of a store of value. Ethereum's kind of pushing the technology. They're really doing the NFTs and the smart contracts. It's not that I have a problem with Ethereum. It's just right now, Ethereum has done much better than Bitcoin. And I believe that Bitcoin's going to have its day. It's going to it's going to have its day. And if you're sitting all in Ethereum, just because Ethereum's been doing better than Bitcoin up to this point, doesn't mean it'll keep doing better. And in the end, you really want Bitcoin. That's what you want to hold.
Okay. So you're saying, this is what the podcast I was listening to last night that was all about, to your point, like Ethereum is more technologically focused. And so NFTs stand for non-fungible tokens. So explain what an NFT is then. And why does Charlie bit my finger and Nyan cat? Why is that become like, why are people buying this crap, and is it worth it? Like, is it really, really worth it for the NFTs out there?
So the NFTs are non-fungible tokens. So they're a way. It's a really great technology. It's going to take off. It seems to already have, but so it's proof of digital ownership. So when you create an album or create music, you can prove that you solely own it, and you can do stuff with that. You can lease it, you can rent it, you can sell it, and when you sell it, you can get kickbacks. You know, if I sell it to you and you sell it to someone else, we all get a percentage. So yeah, so it's a way of proving digital ownership. And you're asking
in
why
a kind of a copyright way, right? Like it's almost like copyright, but it lends itself to more monetary.
Yeah,
like it's more like renting a house. Like you own the house, you rent it out to other people, right? Yeah.
So you're asking
that kind of thing.
Why are they worth millions of dollars, or why are we seeing art? So if you take something like a Babe Ruth baseball card, right? You can scan that baseball card. You can send it over email. But the original is where the value is, and that's kind of where the NFT space is. It's proving that you have the original, that you are the sole owner of this digital content. So that's something that has never been done before. There's an artist online. You can't talk about NFTs without talking about him. That's Beeple. And he sold one of his pieces at a Christie auction for $69 million.
Holy mackerel!
So
holy mackerel!
When I see those type of prices going around, it scares me. I feel like the NFT space is very bubbly.
Yeah, $69 million. I mean,
I feel that bubble will pop, but the technology is sound. The technology, I believe, will carry on. As far as now, I would not be an investor in NFTs. I wouldn't touch them. It's I think everyone's just trying to figure out the space and trying to put a price tag on everything. And I think there's a lot of people out there who have made millions of dollars from cryptocurrency. And these are the people who are buying these NFTs. They're young. They don't know what to do with their money. They want to keep in the space. They want to keep in the technology. And I think these pieces that sold for millions of dollars will come down in value, and we'll find the true value someday. But the technology is sound. The technology is great.
So let me just get my head wrapped around this. Let's just say like Nyan Cat. That's the one that pops into my head. So you got Nyan Cat. I can't believe my son would watch that ad nauseam. Like he watched it and watched it. So there's a meme like Nyan Cat. And then, so what you're saying is if someone owns the NFT for Nyan Cat, anytime I use it, anytime, like I would have to sort of almost pay like the rights to that, kind of the way music is.
Yeah.
Like
so one day, I believe the future would hold that if you use that Nyan Cat, when you put it on your website, you will pay royalties to the owner.
Okay. So that's kind of where it could possibly go. It's not right there yet, but
that's there yet. Yeah. We're still.
Which is why people are buying it now, right? Like it's not like, I think I told you before, I used to work in the pre-Google world when McDonald's.com was, nobody had even owned that. McDonald's.com, or sorry, I said MarthaStewart.com, nobody owned that. And so I was like, if I'd only known then what I know now, I would have bought that. And so that's kind of probably where people are thinking. I mean, not spending $69 million for crying out loud, but some people might be thinking like, if I just buy like the happy birthday song, the royalties to that happy birthday song, then I could be a multimillionaire every time someone uses it. That's the kind of the idea, right?
Here's the risk, right? Right now, the NFTs are mainly on Ethereum, but Cardano is releasing their own versions of NFTs. So this is where the space is going to get really complicated because yes, you can own the happy birthday song, you can own the NFT, but you might own it on the Ethereum blockchain. But there might be now a version on the other blockchain that you don't own. So this is why it's a bad idea to invest right now, because they haven't figured out the space.
Oh my gosh. So now we have to figure out who like the trusted
blockchain
that's even more confusing. That's even more confusing to all of this stuff. But you're right. Then like, if somebody spent $69 million on something and then it's it could be worthless if they decide, if everybody decides they're going to choose another. I don't know. This stuff, it hurts my brain.
Here's how crazy it got is I heard of one person who bought an NFT for, I think it was like, $2,000. And within 24 hours, they had an offer of, $1.2 million for it. And they refused it. They refused the offer.
Wow. Was it Snapchat refused Zuckerberg's offer too? Yeah. So
it's like, I honestly, I stay away from NFTs like they're the plague right now. Maybe in 2 to 3 years, when things settle down and we get some, but right now I wouldn't touch it.
Well, just because it's not stable, the foundation isn't stable there. It's like building a house probably on a marsh or something like that.
$69 million for a JPEG should send up red flags. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. But I think, when you think about it, because I was listening to a Clubhouse chat about people who are artists and also athletes. That athletes could also own as the memorabilia, as to your point, like those cards and just even like their moment, like somebody catching the winning touchdown, someone scoring the winning goal, like those moments captured in time could bring value at some point. Or that somebody could own that, and then people have to pay the royalties to that, and they could be. So it's an interesting sort of place. But as you said, like if it hasn't been sort of figured out from a technological standpoint.
Another thing that's interesting too is that when you start getting into physical assets, so you could turn your house into an NFT, right? And then you could sell your house via an NFT. Now you don't need all these weird contracts and brokers and all this. Just someone's actually just purchasing the coin, and now they own your house. So it's proof of ownership, right? So that gets interesting.
Do you think that'll disrupt the real estate industry then?
Yes. Yeah, it's coming.
Okay.
So, again, it's a digital proof of ownership that can't be faked and it can't be changed. So I think the real estate market will start coming into this. I think, obviously the art scene is into this. So, if you want to prove that you have the original Picasso.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could have it certified and you could have ownership on the blockchain. And, when you sell the Picasso, you would be selling the NFT and then transferring the Picasso over. I think that's where this technology is going. That's why NFTs are so exciting.
Okay. And so how is that different than these smart contracts?
So smart contracts are just a way of executing a very simple routine. So let's say, I'm trying to think of a good analogy. So let's say whoever's going to win the Super Bowl. So let's say we do a smart contract where it'll hold, 2 Ethereum from me, 2 Ethereum from you. And if a certain team wins the Super Bowl, the smart contract executes, combines the money and sends it to you. So it's just now when you do but when you do a contract like that, you can put if this then that statement in the contract. So you can pull it's called like Cisco and layer 2s and stuff. You can pull outside information that'll determine the state of the contract. So once this contract is on the blockchain, it can't be changed, it can't be modified, it can't be hacked, and it's going to execute when those criteria are met.
So there won't be a person as the middle person or the escrow and all that other stuff. Yeah. It'll really just be like these two hands that are shaking together that you don't have to worry about I guess lawyers will just have to pivot because they'll probably still have to be brought in some way, shape, or form to review the content or something. But then AI, I don't know. It's like,
well, let's say a very simplified version would be you want to send me 1 Bitcoin, but you don't want to send it to me until 6 o'clock tonight. You can execute a smart contract when if the time is greater than greater or equal to 6 o'clock, the smart contract would execute.
Okay. So, all right. That makes sense.
The smart contract, we already have programs that can do that. The beauty of the smart contract is it's actually stored on the blockchain. So once it's stored on the blockchain, you can't hack it, you can't modify it. It's written in stone.
Right. Okay. Wow. This is so, and how far away do you think we are in the future? That's hard for you to predict. You're not you don't have a crystal ball. What do you think? 10 years, 20 years? Like when,
widespread adoption of Bitcoin, I see in 10 years. I'm hoping for 10 years. There's a lot of predictions out there. I believe that we're still in a bull run right now, that we're kind of halfway through it. I believe we're going to see $100,000 Bitcoin by the time we're done. And I think 250, 300.
What you're saying, Sorry, you're saying it's 40, because I keep having to remind myself, it's at 40 something thousand now, and you're expecting it to go to 100.
Yeah, I think
That's
we're at 30, 39, 37, something like that. So,
okay.
so I believe by the end of this bull run, which should be in about 6 to 8 months, I believe we'll see $100,000 Bitcoin. I don't think this bull run's done. I think we're just halfway through it.
So in the next 6 to 8 months, you're saying it'll probably go more than a little bit, like 60% more, like
Yes.
than what it
Yes.
is right now. That's a big difference. That's a
Yeah.
big jump, right?
I
And
think
so when that, mm-hmm.
I think that also 250,000, 300,000 is on the table. I think it's possible. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I'm doing a lot of my trades based on the fact that I believe Bitcoin will break 100,000 this bull run, and I think a lot of people think that too. So
Right. And so what, like, it's just, you just figured that's how long it's going to run for, or is there a reason why in 6 to 8 months it'll
well,
start to drop?
when you look at the past bull markets, you look at the past prices. When did the bull market kick off? How long did it last? When did it end? It's probably, I would say in October, I would be expecting the bear market to be there, right around the corner sometime. We've had a really large price drop. I think it's like 52% in the last couple of weeks. That seems odd, but in the last bull run we dropped 42%. So, and we dropped 42% multiple times. So this isn't unexpected. It's a little bit more than I was expecting. But when you look at the price and the charts, we also went up higher and faster than we usually do. So we actually came down harder than we usually do. So, we went up, we came down, and I believe we're going to have another leg up. I believe that this is not the end of the bull run, that Bitcoin's going up from here. We're at a critical time right now in Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin starts going below 35,000, we're going to be in for, probably a $22,000, $23,000 Bitcoin. If Bitcoin stays above 37,000, then I believe we're heading towards 50. So we're at a conjunction with Bitcoin right now. So Bitcoin really needs to decide which way it's going. So we're talking the next couple of days, it's going to break one way or another.
Okay. And so I was just going through my head, like, you're not a financial advisor. You haven't taken any courses in advising. This is all just your experience and your point of view. So I just sort of want to make that clear too. But you've done a lot of research and you know what's going on. And quite frankly, financial advisors that I haven't seen anybody that's in the financial markets that have actually been talking about this stuff to date. So, but I just want to make it clear to anybody who's watching that Sean doesn't have that background. It's just his personal experience of what he's been watching in the market.
Yeah, make sure you always do your own research and you don't invest any more than you are willing to lose, because you just never know what's happening. There was people buying Bitcoin at 65,000, and then they woke up and within a few days it was down in the 40s, right?
Right. So you had mentioned to me too, Sean, that I should wait until it goes down about 10% and then just add a little bit more. And so, like you've said, don't spend anything that you don't want to lose. So I'd probably put in $300 or something like that, just to dabble, just to play. And you're saying, like, when it dips like about 10% is a good time to sort of just put a little bit more in, because of the compounding and the what do you call it? I'm sorry, I don't know anything about financial markets.
Yeah. We call it cost averaging. So I've done a lot of investing in cryptocurrency, and the only way I found to get in and out of a position is to cost average away. That almost is a guarantee you're going to do okay. So we had a drop down to 55,000. We went from 65, we dropped to 55. So when it dropped to 55, I told everyone put a little position in, okay. And then when we dropped down to 47, I told everyone put a little bit more in. Okay, and then we dropped down to 39. I said a little bit more. Then we dropped down to 33.
It's so counterintuitive, Sean, because you're like, I just lost all this money, and you're telling me to put more in. Like, it just feels so at that point, right? Yeah.
So by the time the you're done buying, your kind of average price is around 42. So you're not doing that bad, right?
Right. But it feels so counterintuitive.
It is
to like. But when it's dropped or dropping, you're like, do I want to? Why? Like, it's like that. Oh gosh, now I'm not gonna remember it. But like sunken cost fallacy, right? Like, I've just lost all this money, so like you want me to put in more? Like, it's like just seems so weird to do this. But
so first of all, so you don't actually lose any money unless you sell the coin. So the number one thing you want to do is when you start buying Bitcoin, you have to have a good mindset. So the mindset should be, you're going to buy Bitcoin, you're going to cost average your way in, and you're going to be prepared to hold for at least 5 years. So 3 to 5 years is kind of your timeline. So what you're doing is you're cost averaging your way in. So sometimes you might be buying at 65,000. Then if it drops, you might be buying at 20,000, but your average price is going to work out to be somewhere in the middle. So when it hit 47,000, I was like, this price is fantastic. And your gut reaction is to put all your money in, but it kept going. It kept dropping. And right now, you could be buying at 36, and you could, you buy it as it drops, and then, when it takes off and it goes back to 65,000 and it starts making its way to 100,000, well, you were buying, your average price was around 42, so you're doing really well.
Right. Somebody like myself who knows nothing about any of this stuff. So when I saw my numbers climb up, I was like, should I be pulling it out now? Should I, now that it's gone up, because I've always heard you buy low, you sell high. Like you're saying, it doesn't matter if it goes up, it doesn't matter if it goes down. You should just hold, right?
Just hold it. Because
for people
if you're the type of person who can put hundreds of thousands of dollars into crypto, and let's say you put a position and you cost average your way in, and you did that at 47,000, and Bitcoin's at 200,000, you might want to pull out. You have to take profits sometime. So taking profits is very important, especially when you're dealing with altcoins. But at some point you're going to have to pull out. But what you have to kind of make up your mind is what price do you want to pull out? And you have to kind of think to yourself, where do you see the space going? How large do you think it's going to be? Even when I do pull out my position, even when I do cash out all my Bitcoins, like let's say Bitcoin hits 300,000 and I decide I've made enough money, I want to pull out, I want to pay off my house, I would still leave something in Bitcoin, 10% of a Bitcoin or something for the next 10 years, just in case we see, a $10 million Bitcoin, right?
Right. Because what I'm understanding is once this becomes more and more adopted, and what you're saying and what other people are sort of saying is it will be adopted. It's not it's not an if thing. It's when, other countries like that, or like when Elon Musk, that's when we see things up and down. When organizations start to recognize this is a viable way of exchanging currency, we're going to see the value of this go up and up and up. Right.
So this is one of the reasons I always say, don't invest any more than you can afford to lose. If the United States comes out and bans it or does something horrible like that, it won't destroy the market, but you're not going to see these prices that you're expecting. So, you have to always not expect the unexpected, but you have to always, when you get into trading, you need to learn risk management.
Right, of course.
Risk management is very important. And if you put your mortgage payment into Bitcoin and you think that, in 2 weeks I'm going to be able to pull out double, that's not how it works. If you're putting, and you're a good example, you're putting small amounts of money into Bitcoin, but for someone like you definitely want to be prepared to hold for years.
Right. Because I don't really know what I'm doing. Yeah. Like, I don't want to be, what you're doing. So when to pull stuff, when to shuffle things around. This is what you've been doing for, how long have you been doing this? How long have you been at it?
I've been in the crypto space for 4 years. I've been in the technology space for 20. So
20 years. Yeah. So now and this is what you're doing like all day, every day, is like spending all of your time sort of focusing on this stuff. So you understand how this is all working. And for most people, most lay people, we're just sort of like, I don't know what it is. Let me just see if it's going to work. And so I say to my friends, I'm like, put $100 in, you never know. Right. Because to lose it, then it's like, it's no harm, no foul. It's like going out for dinner or going to the casino. It's the same thing like going to the casino, really, because you're just sort of putting your money on the table, hoping that it's going to land on your color, red, or it could go red, could go black. So that's kind of what you're doing. You're just waiting for the thing the roulette wheel to finish spinning. Yeah.
When you talk about gambling, that's kind of where I see the altcoin market. It's much more of a gamble. That's why I always recommend, especially if you don't have a financial advisor, that you make sure you do your research and you learn how to read charts and you learn the space before you mess with the altcoins, because
Right.
I've seen a lot of people get wrecked on the altcoins right away. But just having a plan, just buying a little bit of Bitcoin and holding it for, you could say to yourself, listen, I've got 10 years before I retire. I'm going to buy 10% of a Bitcoin, and I'm going to just hold that until retirement, and I really don't care what the price is. I think that's a smart move.
Do you see the comment there with Tom has asked if you can comment on safety and security of exchanges? We've seen quite a few disappear with member wallets.
Well, safety and security of exchanges, we're getting a lot of DeFi exchanges. The thing that I'm recommending for new users, right, is that they purchase their coin and they move it over to something like BlockFi, or they take custody of their own coin. Leaving coins on exchanges for long periods of time is not always advisable, depending on the exchange. My exchange that I use is Binance. I have a trusted relationship with them. I like it. I've been using them for multiple years. You kind of feel out your exchange, and if you're seeing red flags when you're on your exchange, pull your money. I was on an exchange, and this was way back in the day, but I purchased a new coin that came out, and when I went to pull the coin, they wouldn't let me. And I held onto that coin for 6 to 8 months, and they still were not allowing me to pull the coin. Well, that was a huge red flag, so I got off that exchange immediately. So you have to look out for red flags. You're going to see them on exchanges. So when you're talking about full-on exchanges, you're probably talking about day trading and going in and what I recommend for people like Leslie or people who are new to the market is they just purchase the Bitcoin and they put it over on something like BlockFi to make small amounts of interest on it, and they hold for long periods of time. Now on BlockFi, you can swap your coins around, so you can consider BlockFi a small exchange because you can swap Bitcoin for Tether or for Chainlink or for Ethereum. So if you have Bitcoin on BlockFi, you can purchase some Ethereum with the Bitcoin. There's no need for you to go onto the exchange. Another thing I recommend, if you are on the exchanges and you do have a considerable amount of money on the exchanges, what we call proof of keys. So once a year, I will pull all my crypto out of the exchange. Number one, I want to make sure that the exchange is going to give me my money. But number two, I want the exchange to prove to me that they have the Bitcoin that I'm trading.
And so don't you have to take a hit on that? But I guess you're just doing it to make sure you can. But isn't there a penalty with that?
Yeah, depending what you're transferring. If you're converting everything to Litecoin and pulling out Litecoin, the transaction fees are going to be very low. If you're pulling out Bitcoin, it'll cost you a few dollars. It's not the end of the world, depending how much money you have. But I recommend that if you are on an exchange and you are actively trading, that once a year you pull your money out and then you can put it back. It's called proof of keys. You want you want to make sure that you can pull your money out, that they're not going to give you a hard time. So I recommend Binance.
Right, Binance. So Tom, you had a question about how do you spell that? I don't know what you were sort of referring to. Was it I don't. You said something about DeFi or Delphi or something like that.
Yeah,
maybe that's what you were talking about, Sean?
Decentralized, the DeFi space.
Okay, and so Tom's asking if there's any Canadian exchanges.
Well, if you're talking about small transactions, BitBuy is a Canadian. When you purchase Bitcoin from BitBuy, that's solely Canadian, and that's one of the reasons I use it. As far as the larger exchanges, I haven't been trading on any exchanges. I've been kind of obsessed with Binance. I started on Binance. I understand the platform. I like what they do with the space, so I've always been on there. But BitBuy is solely a Canadian organization, so it's safe to purchase your Bitcoin on there. And if you want to, in BitBuy, it is technically an exchange because you can dictate the price you want to purchase Bitcoin. You can trade your coins. You can do all that.
Okay. Well, I'm not doing any of that stuff. I'm just putting it and holding.
I'll get you there one day.
I'm too nervous. I'm too nervous to do anything. It's like even the little itty bitty bit that I have, you can tell I'm not a risk, I'm not a gambler. So And so there was somewhere I was going to go with the question, but now I can't remember what it was about all these different. Oh, it was about the wallets, because I think I told you, Sean, like when I first started to dabble in this stuff like 4 years ago or something, and I'd heard of, I think it was Kraken, it was a wallet or something like that, and I couldn't, like, there were just so many things that I was like, I don't know how this works. And yes, I had heard if you lost your key or if you lost your however to access your wallet, you were screwed. And so people are now, I've seen these articles saying like, what happens when you die and people can't get access, like your family can't get access to your Bitcoin, like what happens there? So you're saying do it in something that's a little bit more accessible or something, like, I don't know.
Yeah, so the normal way we used to store our Bitcoin, and the way a lot of people do it, is they can store it offline, they can store it in their own personal wallets. When you store your own Bitcoin or your own crypto, it's your responsibility to remember your password and to write down your private keys. When you use an organization like BlockFi, they take custody of your Bitcoin. So it's kind of like, let's compare it to, let's say you got paid in cash, right? It's your responsibility to keep your cash safe in your house, hide it, do whatever. But let's say you don't want to do that. You want to use a bank. So you give it to the bank. Now it's the bank's responsibility to keep your crypto, or to keep your cash safe. So when you want to, let's say you forget your password at your bank, you can just walk into the bank, prove who you are, and they'll reset your account. Similar with BlockFi. That's why I recommend, not only is BlockFi and Nexos great for earning passive income on your money, it's great if something happens where you can't remember your password or you lost your phone and you can't do the two-factor authentication. You can call their customer support because you validated your identity. They know who you are. So you can prove who you are and you can get access to your account back. So when people are new in the space, like if you're holding hundreds of millions of dollars, you probably want to store it off chain on a ledger, and but when you're
call you at that point if they've got hundreds of millions of dollars, like, call me.
Yeah, it's a nice problem to have. But like when people are starting off, my parents are involved in the crypto space now, so there's no way I want to let them have control over their own private keys, because I get calls all the time about they forgot their Facebook password, or they forgot that, it's constant, and that's just not something you want to happen. So I put them on Bybit, I put them on BlockFi, and if something ever happens, they can call up BlockFi and get the support they need. But you're right, if you have your own wallet and you lose your private keys, there's no way of getting it back.
Because there's ways, I noticed, like when we first started talking there, like I was looking on like Amazon, that you can get a whole kit that if you wanted to like have your own key and all that other stuff, that you, like, you could save it. I guess it's almost like a disc, like a drive, like a thumb drive, like that kind of a thing. Like you put it on there and then just tuck it away or put it in a safety deposit box or whatever. But but it's not like, it is tangible, but it's not, like if you lose it, you're messed. So
yeah, so there is always risk with going with either way, right? So if the thumb drive dies or it gets lost, there's a problem. But also, if you're putting your money and someone else has custody of your money, if that company goes belly up, you're going to lose your money too. So you always have to do your own research. You always have to weigh the risk. So risk management, right? So if you start seeing red flags with BlockFi, it's time to move your money out. And with my BlockFi account, the first thing, not only did I deposit money with them, but within a couple of weeks, I started pulling money out to make sure it's proof of liquidity, to make sure that it's not going to be hard for me to get my money out. So far, BlockFi passes all my tests. Nexos, no problem with Nexos. And there's another one, I forget the name, but there's another one you can make interest on. So, right now, BlockFi seems to be my favorite, but it's interest, and it's compounded interest. And if you understand compounded interest, if you're planning on holding, let's say you put in $1,000 and you're planning on holding that for 5 years, the compounded interest will rack up pretty quick,
Yeah, and you mentioned to me too about because I'm going in a different direction. My brain is just firing off. When you helped me set this up on my phone, you said, Leslie, if you're changing phones, get in touch with me. Like before you like change over to a new phone, you want me to get in touch with you just as a precaution, make sure that I still have access to that wallet. Is that why you said Like,
yeah. So when you're holding cryptocurrency, a lot of it's your wallet might not be stored on your phone, right? But to access BlockFi, you have to authenticate. So they use an
right,
application called Google Authenticator. So Google
right.
Authenticator will generate a password, not a password, a random set of numbers, and it will generate a
Mm-hmm.
random set of numbers every 15 seconds. So when you log into BlockFi, you open your application, you log in with your username and password, and then you enter the random digits that are on the Google Authenticator. So if you were to
Right.
lose your phone, or you were to switch over to a new phone, you want to make sure that Google Authenticator is moved over properly to your new device, just so you don't run into
Mm.
issues. But again, you're on a website where they can validate who you are. So if you did lose your phone, you would still be okay. If you had your own personal wallet, you would probably have your keys stored somewhere else. Like you would just
Mm.
make sure to do that.
Right. Yeah. God, this stuff is so complicated.
I
It's
see
so
a comment about
complicated.
asking about BlockFi. So when you think about BlockFi, you want to think it's a company, and what they do is you give them Bitcoin, they take custody of your
Mhm.
Bitcoin. It kind of looks like a savings account. It's kind of the same idea. So you go into and you can see how much Bitcoin you have in your savings account, and they will pay you for Bitcoin. They will pay you 5% APY, and that's compounded. So every month you earn interest on the interest. So they will pay you up to, I think it's 8.6% or 9.6% on Tether, which is locked to the US dollar. So if you're holding Tether, you can make close to 10%. So what BlockFi does is they go and they issue cryptocurrency backed loans. So they lend out your Bitcoin and they make interest on your Bitcoin and you get a kickback of that. So you don't have to worry about what they're lending out and how they lend it out. You get your 5% no matter what. So you can it's kind of like a bank. So the beautiful part about BlockFi, and this is absolutely crazy. So let's say you have $1,000 in Bitcoin, and let's say you fall on hard times. The last thing you want to do is sell your Bitcoin. You can take a loan directly off of BlockFi, and I think it's like 5.6%. And you can take a loan, and it's automatically approved because it's backed by your crypto.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing. That's fantastic. So if you ever fall on hard times, you can take a loan against your crypto rather than selling it. Another thing they've introduced is they've introduced a Visa, it's a MasterCard. So you go out and you use your MasterCard. And when you use your MasterCard, you make 1.2% back on your purchases in Bitcoin.
Mm.
And you can pay the balance of your MasterCard with the crypto you're holding in BlockFi. So it's a very easy way for you to get access to your coins.
So MasterCard's partnered then with them?
We have partnered with them. They're in the space. I told you, a lot of people
Right.
are.
Okay. So that lends itself a little bit more credibility, doesn't it? When you've got like an association like MasterCard that is supporting it.
I've applied for the BlockFi card. I've heard reports that it's been released to certain people in the United States. You have to go on a waiting list, and I would recommend that you sign up for that, and you get on the waiting list.
I know. I love because I'm like a President's Choice girl. I used to be a President's Choice, and so it's like I love my free. I love when I get free stuff. So maybe I'll start to think about getting that kind of credit card.
Also, another thing with BlockFi is you can choose how you want your interest to be paid out. So if you have 50% Litecoin and 50% Bitcoin, you can choose that the interest you make on the Litecoin will be paid back to you in Litecoin, and the interest you make on Bitcoin can be paid back to you in Bitcoin. Or you can just say, I want to be paid out fully in Bitcoin. So every month, like for me, you get $300-400 a month in interest, right? So every month I get $300-400 in Bitcoin. Just it gets deposited right in my account. And then the next month, I'm actually making interest off that $300-400. So another thing too is, try to go to a bank and get 5% on your money. Try to go and open a savings account. It won't happen. And if you're in Tether, you can get 8.6%. Try to get 8.6% in a bank. It's tough.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, you've enlightened me to so much more again, Sean. We didn't think we'd fill up the hour, but it just went by like that. So we'll definitely have to set up another time to chat about this stuff. And thank you to Tom for asking all those really cool questions. Tom's in the security space, so he understands security and technology and things like that. So that's his specialty. So thank you, Tom, for all those questions.
Also, are you able to post those links I sent you?
Me? I'm not sure if they'll show up. I'll probably post them because this will be on repeat as well. So I'll put them in the comments of LinkedIn, maybe not Twitter because it goes to, but LinkedIn and YouTube. I'll definitely put it in the comment section of the links that you sent me so that other people can see them too. And so tell me again what they were about.
So the link would be Pi. I would recommend, especially if you're new to the space, and even if you're not new to the space, download Pi, check it out, run it.
So it's Pi. Yeah, you said it was
PI.
Yeah, just PI. Yeah.
So you're gonna get a link on where you can download it to your smartphone, and you're gonna get a referral, which is just my name, like is Bad Vlad, and you're just gonna get a referral that you use when you sign up with them. When you sign up with Pi, it's very important that you use your proper information. No pseudonyms, no fake names, because when you go to try to retrieve your Pi, you have to prove who you are. So we won't have. One of my friends downloaded Pi, and I called him, and he said that he was mining it on 5 different cell phones or something. And I told him, I said, no, it's not going to work that way, because when you go to claim your Pi, you have to prove who you are. So there's an option in the settings to validate your phone number. Make sure you validate your phone number. Make sure you use your real name and mine it and start accumulating it, because this is a really interesting project. It really won't cost you any money. And all you really have to do is hit that button once a day. So it's not going to hurt. So
yeah. And if anybody wants to use our referral codes, then they can ping you, Sean, and probably so now you're on LinkedIn. You got a fully maxed out LinkedIn profile, so people can contact you, Sean Vlad, on LinkedIn. And then they can get your code and learn more from you for sure. That's a good way for them to get in touch with you. What else? What other sites did you want people to know about?
Oh, so some of the links I sent were just a referral link to BitBuy. So if you want to purchase Bitcoin, you can do it through there. If you use the referral link, you'll get $20.
You'll get $20.
Yeah, we both referral. Right. So in the industry, everyone, when you sign up with a new service, you always use a referral link, because you get money and the referee gets money. So so BitBuy, we both get $20, and if you sign up with BlockFi, I think we both get $10 or something. But you know, you can always use a referral link, because you get money and the person referring gets money.
Right? Everybody wants money. Free money. Yeah. Do it. And I know with even, and I don't want to go, maybe we'll talk about this next time too, is that when I was on Coinbase, which I still have the app, is that there, because you were saying, well, why do you have a little bit here and a little bit there? There was like little tests that I could take. And if I passed the test, I got a little bit of a new coin that was out there. So whether or not they amount to anything, I don't know.
Well,
but I was
Coinbase is interesting, because if you just watch their videos on Polygon and stuff like that, they'll give you some coins, so you can earn some money just by doing that on Coinbase. I kind of checked out the fees, and I went to deposit some money on Coinbase. I noticed they're charging around 3%. That seems a little bit high. I believe BitBuy is 1.5%. That seems more reasonable to me.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah. So anyway, there's lots of different ways that people even earn crypto for free by doing little things here and there. So maybe we'll talk about that next time, Sean, about all the little nuggety ways that people can do it without really having to risk their own money in it, but whether they take little tests or referring or like passive income. We all love that. Wouldn't that be a dream, Sean? Or we just all sit back and make passive income in the cryptocurrency space. So so if anybody wants to get in touch with you, you're on LinkedIn, Sean Vlad, VLAD, SEAN. That's the way you spell Sean, VLAD. If anybody wants to reach out to Sean on LinkedIn, and if not, then just ping me and I'll get you in touch with Sean as well if we know each other. And thank you again, Sean. So I'm looking forward to our next chat, because you always enlighten me about something new. So, okay, thanks again.
Thank you very much, Leslie.
Okay, we'll talk soon.